Many of the views, opinions, and themes found in Realm of the Mist Entertainment and Sounds Dicey Gaming podcasts may be unsuitable for people under the age of 17. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, this is Eddie Deezen. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. What is up, guys? Chris Stolle back with another Breaking the Fourth Wall. I know you're not used to hearing my voice. Normally it's Mr. Ray Rumsey, but he is off this week, and I get the distinct pleasure of sitting down with a man that he has spoken to before. And after listening to the interview yet again today, I can honestly say I feel like I missed out. But you know what? I'm going to make up for it now. Mr. Dave Hamblin, otherwise known as Hambone. Welcome back to the show, Dave.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
All right. So, yeah, you were telling me with the first interview with Dave, with Ray, that you guys went on long after the recorder stopped recording, and
right, yes,
you had a butt ton more stories you wanted to tell.
Dude, it was fucking actually a lot of fun. We were talking about working in the studios, and he asked me about, was it fun?
Right.
And it's a trip because I'm sure that, I know they do the same shit in New York. They do it in Georgia, but they bring a lot of us to Georgia to do the shit. And it's just, the other day I got home and there's a girl that lives at the building, Nicole Bilderbeck is her name. She's a sweetheart. She did, Bring It On, that movie Bring It On, and she's done a ton of other shit since then as well. But
okay.
She was talking about her folks got to go on set. Oh, and it was great. And they really had a great time. And I said, yeah, but they're seeing the set when it's about the fucking talent.
See, that was something.
They're not seeing it.
That was something I was really picking up. That was something I was really picking up in the last interview. Was that you did put a lot of emphasis on that. And again, for people that don't know, I myself, I work in the trade fields. I'm a fence installer now, but I mean, majority of my life I've been a subcontractor, building maintenance mechanic. I've worked your field, just not as artistically. So, but I know exactly what you're talking about, where like you feel like the scum of the earth, or you're treated like the scum of the earth, because all everybody ever sees is the salesman or the person who presents the finished product, but never the person who made the product. So I really got what you were saying in that previous interview.
Right. Oh, dude. And it's really fucking incredible. It really is. And then there was something else on the Facebook. They were talking about the Jaws shark. Old Bruce,
Old Bruce.
Somebody said, they were talking about, they showed a picture of the thing before and then a picture of it when it was painted. Oh, Spielberg really brought that thing to life. No, Spielberg didn't. It was my dad, people like you, people like me, my old man that put the paint on the thing that made it look like a shark. Those people that don't get dirty, that's it. That's the key right there. They don't get dirty.
No, you're absolutely right. And by the way, I'll pay your dad the ultimate compliment for Bruce the Shark. I saw Jaws when I was 5 years old. I'm 42. That movie made me start taking showers. I was afraid to take a bath because I thought that shark was going to come up through the freaking drain. Like that shark scared the living shit out of me.
I was home a bunch of years ago. I went home to the vineyard, and before I got in the movie studios, I did like you, dude. I was living on Martha's Vineyard building fucking homes.
Okay.
You know, swinging a hammer for somebody, helping build houses and shit. And every night after work, I would go down to the beach road, park my Jeep, get out, take my boots and whatever off, and then just run down in my shorts, dive in, rinse the sawdust and the sweat and dirt off, and then go home and get a shower. And the thing about it was, the minute you went underwater, you started hearing that dun dun, you know. And one night on Martha's Vineyard, you dive in and you can actually you swim out 20 feet, 25, 30 feet, and you're still only up to your fucking chest, basically.
Right.
You know, so I'm walking and I'm wiping the fucking salt out of my eyes, the salt water, and I stepped on a fucking sand shark, dude.
Oh my God.
And I felt that tail, go back and forth. Dude, I must have looked like Christ running across the fucking water, you know what I'm saying?
I'm just picturing Huckleberry Hound and the Twinkle Toes sound over the water. Yeah.
Exactly. Fucking crazy, you know? But yeah, man, ever since then, and now I'm trying to get my grandson to watch it with me, you know? And old Tan's not having it. You know, he's 9 already, and he's like, oh no.
See,
fucking little wuss.
See,
but he'll watch it eventually.
See, that was another thing you brought up in the previous interview, and I would love for you to get a little deeper into it. You were talking about like practical effects versus CGI, and it's funny because like since we're on the subject of sharks, 1975 Jaws came out, and.
Right.
You know, outside of some live footage that they used for like when Jaws was attacking the cage with Richard Dreyfuss in it, all of it was Bruce, the mechanical shark, or varying pieces of him, the fin, whatever the case may be. You know, and to me, there hasn't been a decent shark movie since Jaws 1 up until, I would say, Deep Blue Sea. But even then, they were completely CGI sharks, and like you said, you could tell the difference.
Oh yeah, dude. You know, and now with the CGI and shit, it just looks hokey. I mean, you know, I get it. I get the thing that you don't want to pay people to build the fucking the stuff. You know, what the effects shit, like the sharks, whatever. I get it, the props, but you know, until you get a handle on that CGI, wait, don't put it out because it looks fucking dumb. And you have to be a complete dipshit not to pick up that it's fake.
See, I partly agree with you because like when you think about like science fiction movies, for the sake of argument, where you have unreality based type characters, aliens or whatever the case may be, think of like Star Wars or Men in Black. I think you can get away with more with CGI, but you're right. There's that uncanny valley with things that we know to be alive, you know, whether it be a human being or fish, you know, or whatever the case may be, that when it's CGI'd, you could just tell it's lifeless.
Oh yeah, dude. When that's what we were talking about. There was a bar, a little like country western dive bar over by where when Rodney King got beaten by the cop. That bar was literally right there. Right at that intersection. And they blew it up in the end of one of the Terminator movies. They blew the thing up. And Schwarzenegger comes walking out, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you could it was a real explosion and the shit's going everywhere, you know, and then after that, of course, they got to pay everybody to go pick up everything. But now it's they do these explosions, and it's like watching an explosion with Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
I don't know. I mean? I don't know. I'd pay for a live action Roadrunner cartoon as long as it was done in the fashion of the true Looney Tunes.
Oh, dude. Now that's what they need to get back to. You know, I watched some of these cartoons with my grandson when he was little, and this shit that he's watching is just sorry. You know, there's no there's, I just don't understand what the fuck is going on anymore. And when I talked to Ray, we touched on that a little bit too. How all of a sudden now it's like you got this. What are they calling these people now that can't figure out transgender?
Right.
Really? You can't look down and tell whether you're a guy or a chick. It's pretty easy.
Now, see, I agree with you, and you know what? For the sake of argument, I consider myself right of center. Okay, I'm conservative with liberal tendencies. So when it comes to things like transgenderism, I treat it the same way as 10, 20 years ago with like homosexuality, where it's like, if that's you, be you. I don't care. You know what I mean? What you do behind closed doors is your business.
Right. I still look at it that way, but you know what? It's not, man. And these people, like now you got these guys that are going, well, even though I have a penis, I'm really a chick, so I should be able to run track with the chicks. Shut the fuck up.
See, that's where I was going.
Are you serious?
That's where I was going with it. It's
like
some of the things I don't agree with is like, just because you identify as a woman, I don't think you should be using the same bathroom as a 9-year-old girl, biological girl, or competing against women. Because quite honestly, biologically speaking, men are designed to be the workhorse, more stockier than women. 9 times out of 10 in competitive sports, we're going to beat them. I'm sorry, it may offend some people, but it's the God's honest truth, and I think it's setting back women's competition tremendously.
I think there's a whole lot of stuff. I mean, it's like if you're a transgender person, great, whatever, that's cool, I get it, whatever. I really don't care, but whatever.
Right.
But when you're trying to fucking tell like my grandson when he was 5, 6 years old, that kid doesn't know what the fuck he is, so he's got to go use this other bathroom. That fucks up these kids.
See, that's where I especially draw the line, is where they've been trying to indoctrinate children that way. A grown adult can make a decision. A child, you know what? When I was a kid, I rode in a Barbie car, and when my little cousins came over, I played Barbie with them or My Little Pony. That didn't mean I was gay. It didn't mean I was transgender. It just meant there was toys and I was playing. You know what I mean?
Well, that too, and you remember too back then, because I'm probably a few years older than you, obviously, but back then too, it was like there was if it was a sunny day, my mom was get the fuck out of the house.
Right.
I don't want you in here dirtying up my house. Go out and play.
Don't come back till the street lights are on.
Yeah, right? Exactly. On Martha's Vineyard, you didn't have that. You knew when to come. You knew when you had to be home. But when I moved out here in '74, yeah, you did it. You had the street lights came on, and you better be home because it's going to be supper time. Unless, of course, they turn the clocks back and then the lights come on and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know that.
I mean,
with my job now, with my job now, I get up and I leave with the sun coming up, and I come home with the sun going down. So yeah, I definitely understand.
Yeah, well, for us when we're working, we start at 6, so you're on the road in the dark and you're coming home in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's really pretty fucking weak when they got you working 12 hours a day, and that's the killer. You every now and again you see one of these interviews on the TV, and it's one of these fucking actors. Oh, I was working 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day. Oh, fuck you! You were in your trailer for maybe 10 hours of that, maybe 12, and you worked maybe 4 or 6 hours, but no more than that. You got to remember, I work in the industry for real. You know what I'm saying? It's so incredible. And they have the air conditioning. One of the coolest sets though that I ever worked on. We were doing the Valkyrie reshoots.
Okay.
When Tom Cruise did that movie Valkyrie about Stauffenberg.
Right.
And we went out to Lucerne, the desert in Lucerne, and we had to build these. They had these Sherman tanks that had been cut up and then welded all back together to look like Panzer IVs.
Right.
But with the running gear for the Sherman tank, you know, without hiding it, you're going to know that that's a Sherman tank cut up. You know what I'm saying? So we made these. We had to take all this MDF, and we had to make these. They were like false sides, basically, and they hung on the Sherman tracks to cover them so you wouldn't see them. And then we had to make all the wheels and everything, and we did a pretty good job.
Right.
And but the tracks that we used for the German tracks were made out of fiberglass resin or something.
Right.
So we're out in the desert in Lucerne. By 8 in the morning, it's already 110. Okay? By 10 o'clock, it's like 120 or some shit, and the fiberglass resin tracks are melting off. What a clusterfuck. But we managed to get it so that it worked out and all that. But they were doing these runs for special effects, you know, and it's this German column in Africa, and they had all these 250 guys in the German uniforms and shit, you know?
Right.
And all the vehicles, there were motorcycles with sidecars, a truck with a flat gun on it that were real. And it looked really cool. Then they bring in this Mustang comes down and basically strafes up the German column. So then they're setting off the special effects explosions and shit, dude. It was like going back in time for real. It was so cool.
That sounds amazing. One of my favorite stories my uncle used to tell me is he used to be a Civil War reenactor. Unfortunately, he's long since passed away. But I mean, he used to tell me a story of how him and his Civil War reenacting buddies had got picked to be extras in the movie Gettysburg. So
that's cool.
My uncle was actually in the film. I mean, you couldn't tell, obviously, but I mean, he was there. He was one of the Confederate soldiers, you know, during the Battle of Gettysburg, and he told me it was like probably one of the greatest experiences of his life, you know, just being a part of that, especially with how successful that movie became. So I can imagine like those guys, you know, the extras dressed up in the Nazi apparel and stuff were like, oh my God, this is, you know, some of them may look at it as like, this is my big break, and other ones is like, this is stories to tell my grandkids.
Oh yeah, dude. For me it was like 1941 all over again, going across the desert with Rommel. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Only I'm not 100 years old. But it was really, really bitching. And then we did years before that. I want to say like 94, 95. We did Apollo 13.
A movie I just watched last week again.
Oh, dude. Well, when he's having the dream segment of himself, you know, getting out of the lunar module and jumping up and down on the moon and shit.
Right.
We built all that, the moonscape and the fucking, then they had this model thing. It was like we had to put it together, but it was like from some museum in the Midwest built all that shit and sent it out to us, and we built it and all that. So I was actually, this is true, I was actually the first asshole on the moon. That is true. You know, that's cool, you know. And then you're sitting there at lunchtime, because we did that on the uni back lot.
Right.
So, you know, what they call lunch, and you just, you know, you're out there in the sun. You just find a place with some shade, sit down and eat what you can, and get a rest before you go in another fucking 8 hours or whatever in the afternoon. And, you know, you can't even count how many home videos you're in. You know, you got all these people, the trams coming through, and oh yeah, these are the guys that are working on this, that, and the other thing, you know, and all these people are videoing, hi, and all this shit, yeah, hey, how you doing, whatever, beat it, you know. And then we did the back lot after the fire. You know, the back lot at uni burns down every like 10 or 12 years. Coincidentally, no one really can figure out how it happened. And then we were out there, Jesus, I was there for a whole year. And it was really a godsend because at that time, most all the work was going out to Georgia or North Carolina. And it's minimal how many guys they take. So, you know, it was really a godsend because a lot of us were over there for more than a year.
Right.
Working on that backlot rebuild. So, you know, I mean, it's really, and you never know what you're doing. One day you're doing this, and the next day you're doing something, and you're going, holy Jesus, you know?
I remember doing new construction, so I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
I could definitely imagine. But you know, you had mentioned 2 films that you've been on. One question I don't remember Ray asking you is like, obviously when we talk, we always talk about Jaws because you know that's just a huge thing that your father did. Even you were on set for Jaws and all, but like you said, in 1974, you pretty much started in this industry yourself. What are some of the most?
I was a kid.
You were a kid.
1974. I was a little kid. I was an extra in the sign scene.
Right. But what I was going to say is I want to hear some of the more memorable films that you were on that like people wouldn't have guessed that you worked on. Like, you know, doesn't matter if it was you put a doorknob on a door for one scene, you know.
Well, you know, there's a lot of shit, man, and it's really, if one time I worked on In the Army Now.
Pauly Shore.
Yeah, Pauly Shore, and I was they had to go out to Arizona which was going to be the last part of the movie was being filmed, so they left me behind, and I was the on-set carpenter while they were filming, because we had the wall that they blow out and he escapes or whatever.
Right.
Well, so we had to change out walls for that scene, the before and after look. So he's in jail, right? And they're trying to film this, and he's shaking he's like yelling out the bars, the window or whatever.
Right.
And they were rattling, so they call me in and they tell me, yeah, make those things so they don't move when, you know, no rattling and shit when he's over there. I'm like, all right. So I'm over there working, right? And he comes over and he's like, what you doing, dude? And it's like, you know, so, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, hey, you know, I saw you on MTV, dude, and I got to tell you, you look mighty fine in a dress. He got fucking hot, dude. He got fucking hot. And you know, because the whole crew is there, the rest of the cast and crew, and they're laughing. You know, those people, they get upset if you're funnier than they are.
Right.
You know, and he was, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, dude, they did the tent scene where they're eating and talking.
Right.
They did that for like 2 days, more than that, maybe even 3. And it was like, you know, maybe if you people stopped smoking the fucking weed before the scene, you'd be done. Just saying, you know. Oh, dude, it was, you know, that was pretty trippy. So then one day, it comes time, we got to take the one wall out and then put in the one with the hole blown in it, right?
Right.
And I'm the only carpenter, so the deal is that the grips are supposed to jump in and help me move the wall.
Right.
Well, they tell me, hey, they're gonna go to lunch in about a half an hour, so you go eat now and be ready to move that wall. Okay, fine. You know, somebody tell the grips, yeah, okay, no worries. So I go over to the lunch truck to get something to eat, right? And the dude says, oh, we don't feed construction. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you're not considered crew. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, you see that the UPM was going on set. I said, you see that guy over there in the dress suit? He's like, yeah. I said, that's the UPM. Go tell him that Hambone said no feedy, no worky, and he can change the fucking wall. Oh, I got fed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it was just, and it is. Sometimes it's really, really cool, and other times it's just like the military a lot. Hurry up and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they shoot something and they don't like it, so then they go back and they have to reset all this stuff, and it's pretty wild, dude. It is. It's like you've never seen so many people that with the production company, and you try to, you're standing there because you got to. If they fuck something up, you got to fix it.
Right. And
you got to do it quick. So you're standing there hanging out, fucking kind of trying to keep an eye on what the fuck's going on, waiting for him to call you, And you're looking at about 150, 200 people, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what exactly do these motherfuckers do?
Right.
Because they're making a whole lot more money than me, and I don't see none of them doing anything.
Then the call comes in, all right, what did fucking Harrison Ford break now?
Well, see, Harrison Ford's cool. I've met him. My buddy's dad was his personal wardrobe guy.
Okay.
And Bernie was cool, but Harrison Ford's just a cool guy. I mean, you compare him. I met Jack Nicholson too. And I'll tell you what, I'd rather hang out with fucking Harrison Ford.
Really? Jack wasn't fun?
Dude, Jack is Jack. He is not acting. He is not acting. He is just being himself. Okay? And he's a trippy dude, man. I mean, he would show up for work and they would drop him off. Right? They got a car, brings him, and he gets out, and he's still in his pajamas and slippers. His hair's all over the fucking place. It's like, really, dude? And how much money are you making? It's a fucking gas, dude. Some of them. So he signed a ball for me. He just scribbled on it. You couldn't really read it or nothing.
Right.
So the chick that if Jack wants his paycheck, he has to sign for it. They're getting paid such extravagant amounts of money that they have to sign for their shit, And the chick, and Jack was really cool to the chick. So one day she said something to me, and I said, oh, yeah. And she's like, well, give me a ball. I'll get him to sign it for you. Cool. So she did, and she brings it back, and it says to Hambone, a ham with a bone, Jack Nicholson. And that's a keeper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a keeper. It's like that thing's going to be worth money eventually.
Yeah.
But dude, well, you have to, man. They tell you can get fired for talking to these people and shit, or you hear this shit. Here's my favorite. Oh, if you go and talk to him, you have to address him by whatever the fuck he's playing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you got to call him by character or whatever, not his real name or her real name.
So you mean to tell me for the next 6 months, when he goes home, his old lady's got to talk to him that he's this fucking character?
That's it.
That is the lamest motherfucking thing I've ever heard.
See, I don't get that. And I don't mean to pick on method actors or anything else, but I mean, for 20 years, I was an independent professional wrestler, and I played 2 characters in that career. And of course, at the shows, because you're trying to, suspend disbelief, you have to be referred to as your gimmick name in front of the fans at all times. But I mean, never once did I, as soon as I walked out of the arena with my gear in my bag, did I ever once think that I was, fucking Matt Wild or the 13th Apostle, by the way, the 2 characters I played. To me, they were just gear in my bag. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine some of these people, like I've heard stories about, like Heath Ledger, for example, getting into the mindset of the Joker by locking himself in a hotel room for a month, isolating himself and shit. Like to me, that seems extreme. Just to pretend.
He was doing enough drugs, though. You know what I'm saying?
True, but I'm meaning just the method behind it is like, that seems awfully extreme. Like, you're purposely trying to make yourself go insane to get into the mind of a character who's insane. You can't just make believe.
Well, because I don't do it, I really don't know what they do. But
right.
I mean, You know, I mean, like you got Christian Bale, for example, and that dude's a legend, pretty much. You know,
right?
And he did that. What was it? Something, The Mechanic or something? And he lost like all this weight and became like a living skeleton to do the part.
Oh, right.
You know, he was eating like one apple a day for months at a time.
Same with Donnie Wahlberg when he got the role to be in the beginning part of The Sixth Sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know what they do or nothing like that. But, you know, I mean, I met Randy Savage, you know, the Macho Man, that dude.
Yeah, I remember him.
he was teaching him how to do the cage for Spider-Man 2, the wrestling cage thing.
Right.
And then I met J.J. Watt on another show. That guy that's the defensive end for the one of these football teams. And I'm pretty sure I could have taken both of them.
J.J. Watt, doesn't he play for the Arizona Cardinals, I think?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, he plays for, I want to say the Houston Texans, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know he doesn't play for the Patriots. That much I do know, rest assuredly, or the Jets.
Well, I know he doesn't play for the Eagles, so
yeah.
that eliminates 3 teams.
Yeah, well, I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl either.
Okay.
You know, but it is, dude. It's a trip. Some of these dudes, you know, some of them it's pretty bizarre because, you know, most of them, like they tell you that what's his name, Michael Keaton, not Michael Keaton. What the fuck is that? George Clooney.
George Clooney. Okay.
They tell you he's really tall. He's only my size. I'm 5'11", you know, when I was out of high school, almost 6 feet. But over time, doing construction, I lost about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch.
Right.
Because of my back, you know, our backs collapse.
Oh, yeah, that's usually what I tell people when they ask me how tall I am. I always tell them I'm 5'11" or 6 foot, depending on which convenience store I'm leaving.
Right.
You know, a little measurement thing
know,
on the door.
Clooney, they're not. They're pretty much, every now and again, you'll come across one of them that is pretty tall. You know, I mean, they're taller than me, but for the most part, no. They're you know, they're all pretty small people.
I knew that from bumping into, completely by accident, Bruce Willis. Again, going back to The Sixth Sense, I'm from Philadelphia. And I was running around downtown while they were shooting Sixth Sense. I didn't even realize they were shooting it. And, you know, I was a typical teenager, wasn't paying attention to where I was going, had a Walkman on, and, you know, I had a bottle. I remember having a bottle, I think, of Lipton iced tea, but I had dumped the iced tea out and had Jack Daniels in it. Kids, don't be a delinquent. And, you know, as I'm walking, I'm drinking, I'm paying attention to the bottle. I think I was screwing the lid back on or something. I bumped into a dude who was like only up to my shoulder, by the way. And, you know, he just gave me a hard glare and told me to get the fuck out of his way and walked on. And I was just like, you know, fuck you, asshole. And I took like 2 steps and then, you know, like, I hate to say it this way, but you know, like in the movies where you give that double take? Yeah. That's what it was. I took 2 steps, and I was like, wait a minute. And I realized I got cursed out by fucking Bruce Willis.
He's small, though, right?
Yeah, he's a little short dude.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Well, Harrison Ford's about our size. You know, you said 5'11". Harrison's about our size.
Okay.
And I was walking with him. I asked him to sign a baseball for me. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And you know, my trailer's down the street. He was at his trailer. My golf cart's down the street. And he's like, "Let's go." And I was like, "All right, cool." So we're walking and talking, and he's like, you know, telling me, you know, I used to be a carpenter, you know, and he said, "Well, I wasn't real good at it." I said, "Well, you're doing a whole lot better than I am."
Well, that's pretty much how he got into Star Wars, wasn't it? He was, besides helping feed lines to other actors, he was doing the carpentry for Star Wars.
Something like that, yeah. Or for the dude's house or something.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. You know, but he's a fucking cool guy, man. Bernie passed. My buddy's dad passed about a week or so before or after my mom. I can't remember. But he went and read a big long thing at the service for Bernie. Harrison went and read a big long old thing for him.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, that's a class act there, dude.
See, that's the type of shit I like to hear. It's like from the as you said, the beautiful people, you know, in the previous interview. Those are the stories I like to hear where they actually do, you know, for lack of a better term here, they remember where they came from.
Oh yeah, dude. You know, I mean, it is. You know, you see some of them. One time we were working on an office building that was right across from, I can't even think, might have been stage 23 or 24 at Sony. And while it was the last movie that Walter Matthau worked on, they were doing a Christmas movie or whatever it was. And they had these people came down to us and they're like, hey, if Mr. Matthau comes through here, don't say hello to him, don't look at him, nothing. And I'm like, okay, why? You know, what the fuck's the big deal?
Right.
And they're like, he loves the working guy. He will want to hang out and watch you guys work and bullshit with you guys because he digs the people that actually work.
Right.
You know? And unfortunately, we never did get to see him or nothing, but oh, dude, you know, I mean, some of those people are just really fucking cool. And then other ones, then you got like Jim Carrey was there. They paid, I forget what movie he had just done, but Sony gave him like $30 million or some shit to do the Cable Guy.
Ugh.
Which was a piece of shit.
I was about to say money well spent.
Oh, dude, and he's got this entourage of people that's got to be around him. I never met him, so I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But from everything that I heard, you don't want to meet him.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about him. I won't put him on blast on air, but I've heard some stories.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, I never met him, so I don't know. But I do know that what I heard about, you know, his divorce, that lady that was when he was up in Canada.
Right.
And his wife was taking care of everything while he was struggling. And then he makes the big time and he divorces her. You're a class individual there.
Right.
You know, and it is, dude. It's hard because, you know, I'm one of those people, like, if I'm working with you and you're a shit pot, even if I work on you the next time and you've improved a little bit, you're still going to be a shit pot to me.
Yeah, it'll take a lot for somebody to see you as otherwise, right?
Right, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, okay, you know, I was working on, we were over at Fox working on one of those, American Horror Stories or some shit.
Okay.
And one of the guys that they got this kid working with us, and this kid, he's working with another buddy of mine, and they're putting in a spiral staircase. Well, this kid fucks it up, blames my buddy, and then goes home sick for like 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
And he comes in first thing Thursday morning because we get our paychecks on Thursday, you know?
Right.
So he comes in Thursday morning, and he's doing the which, you know, the minute you hear somebody doing that shit, if they're not really sick, you start doing it back to them. You know, everybody's going, oh Jesus, I got to go home, you know? And they're like, yeah, well, just shut the fuck up and go back to work. Well, he was doing that shit, and Gary came in, our boss, and Gary's like, dude, go home, you know?
Right.
I don't need you getting the rest of the guy sick. So, you know, and it's like 5:45 or whatever, so the kid leaves. Well, he comes in, you know, the next week, Monday or Tuesday, whatever. He gets his check, and it's light, you know? Well, you didn't work. And he's like, he looks at the boss, and he's like, dude, I was here Thursday morning. And Gary's like, yeah, but you went home before we started work, so you don't get paid.
Wow, really?
Yeah. You know, no, you know, and don't get me wrong, because Gary's a stand-up dude. He really is. He's
right.
One of the coolest people that you could want to work for. You know, even his foremen are the greatest, you know? And, you know, depending on who you are and what's going on, you know, a lot of times, I went to work once and was throwing up. I actually had it coming out of both ends at the same time, and they were like, Hambone, go home. And they didn't pay me for the 12 hours that the crew worked, but they paid me for 8 hours.
Well, that's cool.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, it is. It's like I didn't do nothing, and they're like, dude, you were here, you know, whatever, you know. But it's also dependent, like I said before, whether you're a shit pot or you're one of the people that's always there.
Well, you bring up something I never knew, or at least never would have imagined, is that a lot of the construction crews on films are hourly rate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that. I would have thought they would have given a flat rate salary.
Well, some of the commercials pretty much are. Commercials are a flat rate. Usually, if you're me, you're going to get a little better money than somebody else is going to get. You know what I'm saying?
Because of name and experience and
right.
And,
yeah.
Right.
Exactly. But you know, it's commercials. Commercials, dude. That's actually a great gig if you can get somebody that's doing commercials all the time. Fuck, I make more money working 3 or 4 days a week on a commercial than I do working 6 12s on a feature.
What's the work hours on a commercial? Is that like a standard 8, or is it still like a 12 to 16 hour day?
Yeah. It's usually 10 to 12 usually.
Okay.
You know, depending on what it is and shit like that. But yeah, usually. And then what usually we're not there when they shoot it. And that's usually when the long days are. That, like, they'll have you and me come in and work Tuesday to Friday to get it up and get it done. And then they'll come in and shoot on Saturday and Sunday, and then we come back Monday and Tuesday and strike it.
Right. Which I you know what, I was listening to you tell that on the last interview about how, like, you guys and like you were saying, some of the dudes on the crews that are literally artisans when it comes to carpentry, painting, you know, stuff like that. And how heartbreaking is it that you put your heart and soul into a set piece just to see it be, you know, shit canned?
Hey, man, they give me a fucking paycheck. I don't give a fuck what they do with it.
But still,
you know?
like, has there been a piece where it's like, you know, I'd rather have taken that home than see you destroy it?
Well, you know, yeah, that kind of happens a lot, you know. I mean, because, you know, you'll work like on. I left doing features. I got a friend of mine brought me over to Fox. They were doing a pilot for his TV show, and then he called me and said, Hambone, I need you to come in and help me for a couple of weeks. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go over there to Fox, and I'm helping him and shit, and, you know, most of the guys I'd never worked with before, they're all guys that work on TV.
Right.
I was a feature dude, and the dude that called me in, Chris Banky, great friend of mine, Chris is one of those dudes that he's a talented dude.
Okay.
You know, talented, work his ass off for you, and he's a funny bastard, you know. So I mean, he's a lot of fun to work with and hang out, you know. And so I go in and I'm working with him, and I'm like, you know, we're working, and they call coffee, and it's like, okay, cool. So you know, you go and you're wolfing down your lunch, and it's like, no, dude, relax. We get a half an hour. It's like, are you shitting me? You know, and then they call lunch, and it's like the same thing. Hambone, relax. We get 45 minutes. Are you fucking kidding me?
What's that like?
And then afternoon coffee, same thing. We're working 12 hours, same thing. You get a half-hour break in the afternoon. It's like, this is fucking cool.
See, that's what I was about to say. What's that like? My typical day is we do at minimum 9 hours. You know, we come in at 10 hours for me because I come in at 6. The hours are 7 to 4, and that's supposed to be an hour that's separated into breaks, lunch, whatever the case may be, that you don't get paid for. So it's an 8-hour day, but it's 9 hours.
Right.
I'm lucky if I ever get 10 minutes to eat.
Oh, dude, and that's how it is on a feature. That's exactly how it is on a feature, and it's kind of embarrassing too because, like, you know, you talk about going to have dinner with your old lady or your family or whatever, you know.
Right.
And I still have that fucking habit, man, from working, you know, 20 years doing features, that you wolf your fucking food down.
Right.
So that then you can relax for a couple of minutes. Like on a feature, you're working a 12-hour, you get 15 minutes. That's it for coffee in the morning. So, you know, you want something that you can fucking just knock it down. Usually I carry, like, when I'm doing that shit, a couple of those instant oatmeals, you know?
Right.
So you can fucking put it in water and just drink it like a cup of coffee. Put it in hot water and fucking gulp it down, and you're good till lunchtime, you know?
Right.
And then your lunch is the same half an hour. That's it, man. That is it. And some of these guys will try to fuck you out of your break. Well, you were in the truck on your way back, so that's your break. Fuck you, dude. You know, no. You know, my break is when I get off of the truck.
That's my boss. Yeah. You know, I'm hungry. Oh, go eat. I'm never going to stop you from eating. Okay. So you go and you brought a sandwich with you for the sake of argument, or you stopped at the Wawa on the way to the job site, and everybody picked up, you know, snacks or whatever for the day. You know, you work outside all day anyway. So you go back to the truck and you grab your sandwich and you scarf it down, and say for the sake of argument, you try to sit there a minute and smoke a cigarette. Just extra 5 minutes off your feet before you get back to work. Again, you don't pay me for a fucking hour anyway, right?
Right.
So you're sitting there, you're trying to smoke the cigarette or you know, not guzzle down your soda or whatever you have to drink. And my boss will come out of nowhere and be like, I don't see you fucking eating. Get your ass back to work.
Oh, dude, when I was working, you reminded me of a great story, man. When I was working on the outside on the vineyard, you know, most all the houses back there are fucking cedar shingles.
Right.
You know, so they would be Hambone, you know, they get the plywood up and shit like that. They got a crew on the inside doing the finish shit. And then, you know, they want to get out of there, so they got like 3 or 4 of us outside fucking shingling. And then in the summertime, they hire a couple of dink kids out of college to help, you know, they're paying them pretty good to come and help us work and shit like that. So I'm up on pump jacks, right? I'm up on the gable end of this house. I'm on the pump jacks, and they send this, you're working with Hambone, so you're going to be up there. And the first thing you tell them, look, we got shingles up there, we got, you know, your sidearms, then you got the nail guns with the extra nails, Beautiflex, that shit. Leave your lunch, your coffee, all that shit on the ground.
Right.
You know, because you're going to be going back and forth. You don't want to trip over the shit. And what do these fuckers do every time, dude? They bring the shit up and they put it down on the, you know, right in the middle of the road. So then they're like, they're going up at the side. It's like, Hambone, what do we do here? You know, and you're trying to tell them, you know, you overlap this one, slice it, then break it off, put it in, nail it, and go next course. Let's go, you know. And it's like, dude, what did I tell you about your lunch? Leave it on the ground. Oh, well, you know, I didn't think. And it's like, really? And I'd pull out my hammer and just destroy their fucking lunch.
Oh.
And then kick it off. You know, now you can go to fucking town with the truck.
Oh, man.
You know? So one time I've done this. Everybody that ever worked up high with me, I fucking got them at one point or another. You know what I'm saying? So one day I'm working with this other kid, Matt. Matt was his name. I called him Kitty Dukakis because he went to the rehab.
Oh.
So me and old Kitty are up there working, right? And fucking, he's like, Hambone, I need you over here for a minute. How do you want to do this? And I go over and I pull out a cigarette because that's just when I was smoking.
Right.
Fucking, I light a cigarette and I put my pack down and I'm fucking showing him what I want done and shit. Okay, cool, I got it. Okay, cool. So I go back to what I'm doing. He says, hey, I get about halfway back to where I'm working, and he goes, hey, Hambone. And I turn around, he goes, these yours? And he takes out his fucking frame and hammer, just fucking destroyed my fucking cigarettes, dude. I think there were 2 left that didn't get fucked up.
See now with prices of cigarettes, especially nowadays, I would have been pissed.
Oh, dude, well, me, man, I always carried like 3 extra packs because you don't want to get stuck out in the middle of nowhere with nothing, you know.
Well, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I wouldn't want to work on site with you, because the lunch thing and the cigarettes thing, that's not an issue for me. You tell me to leave it down there, I'll leave it down there. But I'll tell you right now, man, unless I can IV it, the coffee's going to be with me.
No, you could get away with keeping your coffee in your bags or something while you were working, you know.
Right.
And I always did. I always carried. My whole life I've been carrying coffee, you know, especially years ago when I was drinking. You needed the coffee with the sugar in it to stop the fucking shaking from the night before, you know? I'm sure there's a whole lot of people that are going to listen to this go, I know exactly what he's talking about, you know, vitamin B.
Yeah, you can't see me because I don't have my camera on, but my head's shaking.
No, you know, it is. It's you know, that's what's really cool about this is it's real. It's reality.
Oh, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how it was. In that one time, working over there on that show, getting back to that, working on that TV show, I was like, well, this is fucking cool. So I stayed working fucking TV. And, the guy I was working for, Peters, he's another dude that's great. He is a great dude. And he likes to come on and give you shit. Mark, he's the boss. He likes to come in and give you shit. And most people will just sit there and let Mark hammer them. Right. Me? You open your mouth, I'm going to fucking close it. I don't care who the fuck you are. And so, but Mark, he's kept me busy, ever since I basically bailed on the movie shit. And it was like, because most of the time, we're working 12 hours, 6 and 7 days on a pilot. But then when that mellows out and they pick it up for the season or whatever, then you're working, 8 or 10 hours a day.
Is working TV a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for, steady, as opposed to feature? Like, I imagine, like, you build the sets and props and all that for feature, and then they shoot, and then you're there to tear it down, and then that's it.
No, usually not anymore. Not anymore, dude. It hasn't been that way for a long time. Now it's all about money now. Okay, so now it's like they'll bring me, you, and 50 other carpenters in, and we go in and we just beat the shit out of everything, get all this shit put up. As soon as it's built, they want half of these guys gone.
Okay.
So then they'll keep a few of us around for the swing sets and shit like that. The stuff that's going to shoot here and there. Whatever. And then now all of a sudden they're down to 6 guys, and if you're not one of the core guys for this certain crew, you're shit out of luck.
Right.
And you're out hustling, looking for something else. It used to be. Like when I was a kid going to work with Ward on the Choir Boys, whatever, if you got hired on a show back then, you were there till the thing fucking wrapped.
Right.
Now it's not, dude. They use the grips and the fucking. They got all these rules and shit now. So once something's shot, unless it's a fold and hold, it's the grips and the carpenters. If it's a fold and hold, if it's not, if it's a strike. Sometimes they'll keep carpenters around, 1 or 2 for that, and the rest of it's grips and laborers, and they just destroy it.
Well, see, that's where I was going. Like, I know, like, even in the old time days where they kept the crew on for complete wrap. Like, I imagine with feature film, once the film's wrapped and you've cleared out the stage, the set, whatever the case may be. Now you're just stuck waiting to see if you get another job. With TV, like you get on a TV show, like you were saying, American Horror Story, for example, like that's done what, 6, 7 seasons? Like, I imagine obviously you have downtime when the show's wrapped its season.
No, by then you're gone, dude. I'm not one of the core guys on that crew. They'll carry that. Like when they go in, the stage is empty. I mean, it depends on who you are. I mean, because there's a lot of dudes that are just like me. Only when they go on the stage and it's empty, it depending on which foreman it is. Hambone, what are you doing? You can come in and start tomorrow. And you go in and it's just put your box over there. We're going to snap some lines, shit like that, and fucking we're out of here.
Right.
Okay, cool. You build some tables, shit like that, whatever. But a lot of dudes, man, it's like, and you hear all these other people are calling because they're looking for work, and they know this is starting. And you call me in 2 weeks when we get prints. I've heard that a million times.
Right.
As a matter of fact, somebody asked me about fucking Star Wars. Was it Star Trek today? Did I ever work on a Star Trek? And the answer to that is no. I know the coordinator that did most all of those, and he's the greatest guy. For whatever reason, he loves my dumbass. The foreman, not so much, because I don't kiss their ass.
Right.
And I'm 57 years old. I've never kissed no one's ass, and it's too late to learn how now. You know what I'm saying? But that's when I got in 93, 94. It wasn't about kissing nobody's ass. It was about how good were you.
Right.
And you worked because, like me, I'm pretty much always busy. Even though I've been off for the last couple months because of my mom dying, everybody's still calling me. You ready to come back? Da-da-da-da-da. No. I'm kind of digging getting a little rest. My body's fucking hammered,
Well, that was going to be another question I had for you, especially because we're coming up on the hour mark here. You had mentioned that before the breaking into the movie industry in the construction field, that you were new development and stuff. That you were a contractor, for lack of a better term. Do you ever miss that world? Even in the repair field, do you miss? Yeah, going to normal everyday people's houses to repair a sink or put in a toilet as opposed to...
Yeah, I do, dude. I do. And it's funny that you asked that because I talk about that a lot to the guys that I work with, depending on who they are and shit like that. Because these young kids would never fucking know.
Right.
These kids that are coming in now, their daddy's the coordinator, and that's how they get in. They're on the fucking phone, and it's like, I'd rather kill you than fucking have to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, dude, it's like, because, the stuff that you do is going to be there. I've done it myself. There's going to be houses on Martha's Vineyard where 100 years from now, somebody's going to have to go fix something, and they're going to break open, they're going to have to go up in the attic crawl space or something, and they're going to see on the plywood roofing, in between the fucking rafters, they're going to see this fucking bubble-nosed looking dude I used to draw on everything I ever worked on. Even in the studios, I still do it. Mean Johnny. It was a caricature of the guy I worked for. Had the big nose, he was the greatest guy. He really was. John was a sweetheart of a guy. And he talked like this, hey, Ham, safety. He was a great dude, And I do miss that because a lot of that shit's going to be there in 100 years. Whether it was a deck you put on or a floor you laid down, whatever.
See, that's kind of funny because you're making me think of the first fence I put up when I joined the company that I'm with now. The first PVC fence that I actually did. I wasn't just like a laborer in the background or whatever else, So the first post, we cut them to size. We usually dig them down about 32 inches and then, pour concrete into them or whatever. But the PVC post, I written on it after measuring and cutting to size. I had written on it, my first fence. And, of course, my coworker saw that, laughed, and written on the other side, "You're such a bitch." Now,
yeah, that's me. I'm that guy.
Now, this fence is going to be up for 20, 30, 40 years before anybody has to repair or replace. I wish I could be there the day they pull that footer out and they see that shit written on there.
No, you don't. It's because there's certain aspects I miss, and Ray and I talked about it the last time. and I think it was missing from that interview tape, but we were talking about, like, when I was talking about the guys that are really, really talented, I mean, there's one dude, Steve Fegley. That dude is one of the best Finnish men. Another guy, Jimmy Betts. Old Whiskey Jim. God, that's what I call him. Whiskey Jim. Love that guy. They're some of the best Finnish carpenters you've ever fucking seen, dude. Nice. I'm serious. These guys are like, are you fucking kidding me? I will never in my life be that good. I won't. I mean, just unbelievable talent. But, it's one of those things. People like me because I work hard and I'm funny.
Right.
And I get a lot of shit done really fast. But if I fuck something up, I'll tell you, hey man, I need another sheet of plywood because I just fucked that thing up, dude. And you want me to pay for it? You want to fire me? Your call. I'll be working in 5 minutes for somebody else. So tell me what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what it really is. I mean, the outside guys. I miss Gene Pepper was my first foreman, man, and that dude. When everyone else gave up on me because of my drinking and drugging, Gene never did. And he's been one of my best friends most of my adult life. He's been like a second dad. Gene's a fantastic dude, and he's another talent, that workaholic, fucking carpenter talent. The dude's amazing.
Right.
He bought a planer, dude. He bought this old Craftsman planer. And it was a piece of shit. And he fucking cleans the thing up, goes and gets a 10-horse fucking motor and a chain drive sprocket, and fucking, dude, that thing could fucking mow through 5-quarter fucking poplar, 3-4 sticks at a time.
Oh shit.
And you're taking off an eighth of an inch or more. And it's not chattering, it's just, and spitting fucking chunks of shit. Dude, he's an animal, man. But one of the greatest dudes I've ever known, one of the greatest dudes I ever got to work with. But that's what it's about to me, whether I'm building houses or building sets. It's about the people that I'm with.
Well, I think you hit it, and I think one of the big eye-openers I'm getting from this whole entire conversation is, like, even though we're on two separate coasts, and you're working in the more, for lack of a better term, high-end construction sites, since you're working on film and all, it's really not that different. Like, the same complaints and the same issues are still there, like the overwork and underappreciated, the lack of people nowadays with good work ethics. And it's like, it's amazing to me to hear that even in Hollywood, where, again, like you said, most people, they only see the glitz and glamour side and they think that's all of it. It's amazing to me to hear that's like, the construction site of a film has the same complaints and issues as the job I just did fucking today. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing, Chris, okay? Like, if I walked on where you guys are working, if I walked on there and I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? Your guys are going to look at me like, get out of here, you piece of shit. And the same thing if you walked onto the stage and go, hey, what's going on? Get the fuck out of here. You want to talk to the foreman over there. And that's one of the things back in the day. George Stokes and I forget the other dude, but walked on to uni and they're like, yeah, put your name on the list. Fuck you. Because they're not going to put your name on the list. They're not going to call you nothing. Fuck that shit, Put
right.
your name on the fucking list, you fucking ass bag. But, and it is, dude. I mean, all of it, it's pretty much doesn't matter whether you're building homes, building fences, putting up fucking scaffolding, whatever. It's all the same shit, And I remember going back, you were talking about, the underappreciation. And when I was a kid, I wanted to work. I had some older friends of mine, but they were all, a couple years older than I was. and they all mowed lawns together, working for Don Aromas on the vineyard.
Okay.
And I wanted a job, and Sandy, the foreman, was like, if you can pick up one of these mowers and put it in the back of this F-250 by yourself, and it was a raised-up F-250.
Okay.
Flatbed, wood sides, wood bed, you know, for fucking carrying grass, mowers, gas, all of that. And I wanted the job so bad that I did it. I got that thing, and they were all laughing and shit, but I got the fucking job.
Right.
Anyway, one day it's like I'm probably, I don't know, maybe fucking 14, 15, and we're working over at this house downtown in the summertime. It's right the 4th of July weekend, and we get a call the end of the day. Go over here. This guy wants his lawn mowed. You know, mow that. You guys are off for the weekend. Cool. So we go down there. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon. We've been out in the sun, sweating and shit. You know, just like doing construction, only you're pushing a mower.
Right.
You know, so we're hustling to get out of this guy's yard. He's out on the deck in his front yard, fucking rich guy, out there on his deck in a fucking Chase Lounge, drinking a fucking tumbler drink, you know, like fucking say vodka and orange juice or something out of like a 16 or 20 ounce fucking tumbler cup, you know.
Right.
So we finish, and he's like, oh, hey, man, great. You guys want something to drink? And we're like, oh, dude, that would be great. There's a water hose around the back.
Jeez.
Dude, I'm telling you, God is my witness. I have never, I'm talking, that was like 43 years ago or something. Okay? And I've never forgotten that. Now, anyone that comes here, I live in an apartment building, anybody that comes here to work on my pad, even if you're just coming over to hang out, I always offer something. You want something to drink? Help yourself. The refrigerator's right there. Help yourself. I got Cokes, whatever.
That it's a common courtesy, and it's like you're not wrong, because again, in my field, especially during the summertime, man, you work out in the sun, in the yard or whatever, for a day, 2 days, putting up this fence, and I mean, it's hard work. Like I was laughing when you were talking about putting up the lawnmower in a flatbed F-250. We have F-350 stick trucks, and we carry a gas operated worm drive single man auger, little beaver, and you got to power that thing. That thing's about 100 pounds. Whatever, you're powering that thing off of a lifted truck and everything. But what I was laughing about, like when you said that guy's like with the water hose, I've had people that wouldn't even offer that. Like you spent 3 days putting up their fence, and I'm talking like 300, 400 yards of fence. Whether it's chain link, PVC, wood, or whatever the case may be, they don't even offer you a bottle of fucking water.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Dude, and that's the whole thing. I mean, it's like, it's you treat people like you want to be treated. That's it. I mean, I tell my grandson that all the time. Don't make fun of people, even though you see Tata do it, it's wrong. Sure, I get the biggest, I laugh my fucking ass off about some of the shit I say, too. Even if nobody else does, it's fucking funny to me,
Right.
But, and I don't know, man, everything's so fucking bizarre anymore. Dude, there's been so much shit. I mean, I built houses on the island for like 10 years. I fucking been doing this out here in the movie studios for fucking 26 years. In that period of time, before that, I worked 4 or 5 years on the outside. All we did was finish work.
Right.
In these people's fucking homes, man. I mean, places that I could never afford to even fucking drive up the street without a cop going, what are you doing here?
Right.
I mean, I worked in Jim Worthy's house, that basketball player, dude.
Okay.
A million of them. Fuck, on the island, I worked at Cronkite's house. All of them, and they're not any different, man. And that's the thing that really trips me out, is that these people, because they make a ton of money, really believe that they're better than you are.
See, that's again, I'm trying to stay away from the political side, but that's one of my biggest issues with some of the Hollywood stars today is ever since the 2016 election, how they come on and they tell you how you should think and how you should live. Who made you the ambassador of good ethics and good manners? Just because you're on TV?
Well, the other part of what you're really not saying is, they're not, dude. They're catered to. They're taken care of. They're the working people, whether they're poor or they're like me, a little better off than a lot of people. I'm never going to be a millionaire. Never happen. I'm just, I'm comfortable. That's it.
Right.
And, I'm just like you are, or probably 90% of the listeners. I'm a paycheck away from living on the street, too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, so I think, to me, I know you don't really want to go the political thing, but I think the people that work for a living, that really have to work, are better judges of what we need handling the country than people that have so much money that nothing matters to them. They're never going to be living in the street.
That's exactly it. You're exactly right. Like, and I can't think of, and I hate this term, but I can't think of a more PC way to put it. It's like, we're not saying that, the working man's more conservative or more liberal or whatever. It's just they have a better idea of how the world works and what leaderships we need to fix the problems in the world, because we see them day to day, where so many people who are higher end money, higher end tax bracket, whatever the case may be, they've lost touch with reality. They've lost touch with what it's like for the average person.
Well, yeah, dude. Look at what's going on right now. I mean, right now the deficit's more than it's ever been ever. They're pissing money away and printing more of it. It's like, really? This can't keep going on.
Right.
And I think that the best answer to fixing this country's debt problem is get a couple of single moms in there, a couple of, moms, single moms with kids, because they're going to know how to save money without taking it away from something that you need that money for.
I'm sorry. The dirtball in me. I'm a divorced father, so the first thought of a single mother is like, yeah, they'll be fixing the deficit by child support.
But right now we got all these it's all the same shit, dude. These people are fucking the old accountants from the banks and shit that have been rooking motherfuckers forever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not ever going to change, and it's not their money, so they just, the taxpayers got it, and it's got to fucking stop.
See,
and that dude Bloomberg that's now running out of fucking New York, give me a fucking break. Yeah, that's just what we need. Some other rich motherfucker, They're not the answer.
See, you just hit the nail right on the head, and I've on one of our other programs where we do get a little bit more political. Again, I would call myself a Trump supporter because of the fact that nobody's given me anything else that would be better, if that makes sense. It's not that I support Trump because I think he's a great guy. I think he's a dick, but I mean, like, if it's a choice between him, Clinton, and Sanders, I'm going to choose Trump every fucking time. But,
you know who I actually like, dude. I think that you're right. A lot of what you're saying is right, but to me, it's because they're too fucking old. Okay,
hey.
They're too fucking old. And that being said, the Republicans are not that much different from the Democrats anymore. They're pretty much one and the same, and all they're worried about is them and their rich buddies.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like you hit the nail right on the head. All these people, like, since the 2016 election, it's like either you're a Trump supporter or you're a Trump hater, and everything's blamed on Trump and Trump and Trump. And, of course, the Trump supporters, well, Obama was this and Obama was that. You know what? Both of them are just fucking puppets.
Well, of course, dude, of course. Fucking A, you know that. I mean, you knew that when Obama basically saved our economy. and gave the banks all that money out of our Social Security. I want my money back, by the way. I'm like a fucking bank. That's mine. I want it back, you cocksuckers. You know what I'm saying?
With interest.
Yo, fucking A, and penalties and shit, just like they do us. But, you know, he should, after he gave them that money, he should have demanded that they had to pay it all back and then held the motherfuckers accountable. And instead of letting them walk away, they should have all been fucking strung up. And the next group that tries to do this will do the same fucking thing. Hang you right with your wife and kids right next to you. And you know, you don't want to sound like a fucking idiot, but you know what? If you want to stop the problem, then you have to stop the problem. You can't leave something for chance. You know, and my point, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, you let this guy's kids walk away after you strung their dad up, well, they're going to have a fucking ultimatum. When they get older, they're going to go after you just to spite you.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, and it's fucking crazy, dude. I grew up on Martha's Vineyard. I've seen these rich pricks. I've seen their fucking kids.
Right.
You know, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? And that was the thing. We used to love when those fucking pricks would come to the island. Because we would fuck with them, dude. You're pieces of shit. You know, with your orange, your brick red fucking shorts, you know, and your lime green Izod t-shirt. We used to cut the fucking alligators off of their shirts. You know, dude, it's, you know, I mean, now you would get arrested for assault or some shit. I mean, it's just gotten out of hand, man. I mean, you know, like half of the shit I say, even on your program, there's going to be people, that guy, it's like, you know what, whatever, man. You know, if you don't like me on here and I'm trying to hold myself back a little bit, you would hate hanging out with me.
I wouldn't.
You know, dude, you know what? Here's the greatest. I have a Jeep, right? An old '79 CJ5. I've had CJ5s my whole life.
Okay.
Now, the greatest is a stick shift, right? Because you see these assholes taking their time across the crosswalk while they're texting.
Uh-huh.
And in the summertime out here, it gets the pavement's got to be 100,000 degrees, you know, baking in the sun. And you come flying up to the intersection that they're crossing, drop it in second, and boot the clutch. And when those big fucking tires, the friction, and watch these people shit themselves. And I've been doing it my whole life, and I just can't stop, dude. It's like when I used to drink and I couldn't stop, you know? I'll be an asshole forever, and I just can't stop. I love it. You know
Look, I had a friend that I used to play Dungeons & Dragons with in high school, and his roommate was a 30-year-old woman. And she told me a long time ago, when she was 30 and I was like 17, she told me, by the time you reach 30, if you haven't grown up, you don't have to. I've lived those words.
Yeah.
So I'd be right in your passenger seat, like fucking, like with my camera phone out, like recording the reactions as you're fucking dropping that clutch and booting it, just to watch people's reactions. And then
dude,
I'd post it on fucking.
Man.
Then I would post it on fucking YouTube.
You know, dude, it's you know, there's something to be said for it. And what she said is true. You know, my old lady's Latina, whatever, and she's always, you need to grow up, because I've got a 9-year-old grandson, and I fuck with him like I would if I was a 9-year-old kid.
Right.
You know, and it's like she gets all pissed off. We're in a store, and I'm fucking around with him or whatever, and she gets all, oh my God, David. And it's like, yeah, okay, relax. You know, it's like, Jesus, I'm having fucking fun with my fucking grandson.
Well, that's exactly it. 'Cause I remember when I was still a musician, and you know, this is past 30 years old. You know, I was still, you know, trying to just play gigs, stuff like that. So I mean, my work ethic was always there. I'd work my 9 to 5, and I'd give it my full attention. And afterwards, I would go to the band practice, and you know, spend 2, 3, 4 hours with that. And then I would go, you know, hang out with the band afterwards, and that's where like the silly side came out. That's when like the work me shut down. the responsible me shut down, and then me and my boys are fucking hanging out in Walmart late at night, fucking hacky sacking in the middle of the toy section.
Right.
30-year-old man, I don't care.
But like you're saying, dude, and I think that people that are like that will live longer than people that are all fucking uptight. And it's a trip, dude, because you go back to what we do for a living, man, and a lot of the shit that we do, you're building walls, whether they got doors in them, windows in them, whatever, in and out, one after the other, and then you're doing a bathroom, so now they want you got to put a camera port in the shower so they can get a picture of this person getting a shower, whatever, and then, wait a minute, now they want the whole shower to go away so that somebody can get in there with a camera and watch this chick brush her teeth or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like they just keep adding shit one after another, and for us it's like, every time it's at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
You're 2:30 in the afternoon, you're packing up thinking, okay, where the fuck out of here? And you're putting your shit away, and in comes the foreman. Oh, we're going long. It's like, fuck, dude, really? I'm going to till fucking 6 o'clock for this shit? Are you fucking serious? I mean, and that's what I mean, dude. And then it just goes in the fucking trash. We put the fake tile on there. They go to this certain place, wherever, and you get fake brick, fake tile, whatever. And then you have to sit there and figure out the layout and then shoot it all on so that there's no bubbles and all this. It's a fucking hoot.
Right.
It is. It's a pain in the ass. A lot of it just, it takes time. And there's always somebody that's going to go, oh, you know what? They treat you like you've never. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and there's always somebody, that's not how I would do it like this. Well, that's good. Go over there and do it like that. And by the time I'll be on my second fucking wall by the time you get there. Unfucking believable, man. It's like this ain't my first clam bake.
Right. See, I'm out on the job site. I'm always, especially because I'm like one of the newer guys for the company. I'm always willing to hear like their shortcuts or the way they do things because it might be easier. But I know what you're saying because I've been on many job sites where it's like, oh, I wouldn't do it that way. Well, fuck it. Either do it yourself or get the fuck out of my way because it works for me.
Yeah, and that's how it is, dude, because I've been in position of authority before, whether you're the gang boss or the foreman or whatever. And a lot of times, we got to do this, da-da-da-da-da, what do you think? If somebody's got a fucking easier way to do this shit, let's hear it, because I'm all about it. Anything that's going to get me out of here early, I'm all about it.
Right.
Fuck, man. I mean, because they'll tell us, oh, we got to work the weekend to get this done. And then you come in Saturday morning and they're like, yeah, as soon as we get this done, we can go home. And then, you're done with it by 10 o'clock. Oh, you know what? We decided, since you guys did that, we're going to do this now. And then you're there till 6 o'clock at night on fucking Saturday. Okay? And then the painters come in. The painters come in because they got to paint it so it's ready to shoot Monday. And Richie and them, they come in, they put the one dude's cock in everything, somebody else is cutting it all in, and somebody else, two other guys are just rolling their fucking little hearts out. You know what I'm saying? Or spraying whatever.
Right.
And they're there at 6 in the morning. They're fucking home drinking by 10 o'clock watching football Sunday morning. They're done. And they're getting paid for the 12 hours. It's like, really, how come you keep us? And you hear that all the time, and now it's just like, fuck that, dude. Oh, as soon as you're done, go get fucked. Because you ain't ever going to let us leave.
Note to self, if I ever decide to relocate to California and get a job with Hambone, become a painter.
Yeah, dude. And that was my biggest mistake, because my old man was a legendary painter in the business. And I got in my first bunch of days with him, and then all of a sudden, no, you can do construction? Okay, you're going to work with the Carpenters. And dude, now, 26 years later, my back's all fucked up. I should have stayed with my dad. You know, in that too, you know, I mean, because my old man, there's so much shit that, you know, people ask me now that I never thought about asking him. You know?
Right.
You were around it all the time, you know, and in that being said, you don't ever think these people are just going to up and fucking die one day, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, too late, you know, can't ask them now, you know? So, you know, it's really a drag. I mean, you know, and all the guys that worked with my dad, you know, whether my dad worked for them sometimes or they worked for him sometimes, whatever, they were all fucking... I didn't work with them, but I knew them all because he worked with them all the time. So I knew who all these people were. And these people were incredible, dude. Well, today you're not going to be painting this wall. I'm going to pull you off. I need you to do signs all day. And these, okay, cool. And they'd go over here, sit down, and fucking start painting out signs all fucking day.
Right.
You know, you know what? We decided that we got a little spare time. Why don't you go and fucking do a design on something, and so we can silk screen a bunch of shirts for the guys. And that painter dude's doing that. You know, I mean, fuck Jaws, dude. When I was a little kid and they were doing Jaws, that was in the paint shop. That fucking emblem that you see now, you go to Martha's Vineyard and they sell it at all the fucking souvenir shops now. That same Jaws design.
Right.
And that was you went down to the paint shop on Martha's Vineyard when they were there filming Jaws in '74. Dropped a couple of shirts off. Go back in a couple days. Oh, here you go.
Now it's everywhere.
Yeah, you know, it's a fucking trip, dude. You know, but that, you know, and somebody asked me about that the other day. You know, well, you were in it, right? And I'm like, yeah. But you know, I was in the background. That's all I was. I fucking go up the hill, go back down the hill, whatever. You know.
Right.
No big fucking deal.
Yeah, you weren't Alex Kirshner getting eaten by the shark or anything. You were just in the background.
Right, no, that was Alex Kittner was Jeff Voorhees. I went to school with him. We were in the same class. But you know, I remember him signing autographs when we were kids. No sooner he did the movie. You know? Oh yeah, he was the kid. Oh. But it's just, you know, I don't know, man. It's just a fucking hoot. Now, I mean, you know, you're talking what, 45 years ago?
I know, it's been forever, hasn't it?
Dude, you know, I mean, I was a little kid. Now I'm like done.
Yeah, but
you know?
I don't want to break your heart, but it was 2 years before I was born.
Oh man, I was born in 1962. A year and 2 weeks after I was born, they killed the first Kennedy.
Oh man.
You know, yeah. Of course, I don't remember it, but I know, you know. But Bobby Kennedy, a few years after that, Martin Luther King. I mean, and it just goes on, you know. I mean, and I think though, knowing my history and shit, I think that probably when they killed John F. Kennedy, that was the end of our democracy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You know, I mean, I know for a fact that he didn't want to go to Vietnam. He had already signed a declaration to bring the first, there were 44,000 guys already in Vietnam that Eisenhower had sent. And he signed the thing, the first 14,000 guys were slated to come home a week after they blew his brains out. And then, of course, we all know what happened after he was assassinated. Lyndon Johnson, you know, started sending guys in there like it was water.
Yep.
See, you know,
I don't have those great stories for the year I was born. No, what happened in '77? Star Wars and Elvis died.
No, 75, May 75, man, April, May 75, Saigon fell. I was 12, 13, and you're sitting there watching TV going, we lost? America? Lost?
Right.
You know, and then you had the Watergate thing. You know, Led Zeppelin was still touring then. You know, well, you have to add that because they were, you know, arguably the greatest rock band ever.
See, that used to be a phrase in my old band, my last band, Disillusion Purity, which we stopped performing together in '08. But whenever we were writing new songs, and my guitarist, like my guitarist Josh Serbo, I swear to God, this kid should have been born in the '70s. Like, his talent was unreal, but he gets so frustrated with a guitar solo or something that because he was really intricate. He loved getting really down and dirty with the solos, and he gets so frustrated. And the phrase was, you know what? There's 22 frets on a guitar, 6 strings. There's only so many chord combinations you could do, and Led Zeppelin's done them all.
More or less, yeah. No, more or less, yeah. And it's really a trip too, because 1979, of course, Zeppelin was done after 1979-80. They were done. Bonham died, and that was it for them. But by that time, punk was coming around. 78, 79, punk was a big thing, and I still to this day hate that shit. But it's like talking to me about rap music but they're almost the same thing. To me, I think punk has a lot more talent to it still than rap does, but then you had alternative music came around. That's what quote unquote alternative. The Smiths, Morrissey, shit like that. And dude, I'm a huge Morrissey fan. Don't ask. I don't even know why, dude. But it was like, here's this one dude. I mean, Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin. All they sang was love songs for the most part.
Right.
And here's this fucking kid from England singing shit about everybody's life. Like, listen to the lyrics for How Soon Is Now. You go to a bar, you see some great-looking chick, but you don't have the balls to go over and talk to her, so you go home by yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that everybody can relate to that.
I'll tell you what, though, with the only thing I'll argue with you with the punk scene, I will take the Sex Pistols or Black Flag or the original Misfits any day of the week over the modern punk movement. Blink 182 and shit.
There was a band out in New York back then called the Blackjacks, and they were like a heavy metal punk band, and they were great, dude. They were fucking great. But there were a ton of bands out of Boston at that time too.
Right.
I think the scene was Boston and New York in the 80s. I mean, they put L.A. to fucking shame, dude.
Well, I was about to say, I think I would argue the point that it was the East Coast in general, because like when you're talking the 80s, you're talking like the movement of the glam rock scene, and I mean, as much as the Sunset Strip influenced it, there was also huge boom out of Jersey and Philly and New York, and I think the East Coast was a hotbed for that music scene back then.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, you had there was a place over here not far from me on Lancashire and Magnolia or something. It was called the FM station, and you could go there, dude, on a Friday, Saturday night and see 6 or 8 different fucking bands.
Right.
The only thing was, depending on who was around at the time, like if Guns N' Roses was around,
right,
then all these people, every one of them tried to sound like Guns N' Roses.
Oh,
you know? If it was Aerosmith, they all were trying to sound like them. And it was like, don't any of you people have your own identities?
See, you bring up something that's like, it brought me back. I remember Disillusion Purity, which was the name of my last band. We were setting up a gig out in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, and it was going to be a New Year's Eve party, and we were going to headline the New Year's Eve party. We were going to have like 4 or 5 different bands, and we were headlining. Dude, we were ecstatic because it was being put on by the radio station out there, KBPI, which was their rock station out there. And we were ecstatic. Like, we were telling our friends, our family, like, dude, this is huge, you know? And, like, not only are we on the show, we're headlining, you know? Fucking a week before New Year's Eve, the bar decided to cancel the whole entire thing and went with a fucking DJ.
Yeah, that's about right.
Oh,
you know?
That's soul crushing. that, you know, we talked about movies for the longest time, but like in the music, especially for the up and coming musician, it is so fun. I think it's harder now than it's ever been to try, unless you're like a rapper or something like that. You just, you know, make a YouTube video with Fruity Loops programs and pre-generated beats. But I mean, like actual musicians, like I've seen on your profile, you play music, you know what I'm talking about, like putting in the work and effort and practice all the time, and there's like nowhere to perform anymore.
Well, there's that to be sure, dude. But you know, it's also none of these companies, like back in the day, the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s. If you went down, you know, to Hollywood and you went down the Sunset Strip where it wraps around, and this is way before where all the clubs are, where everybody plays. Oh Christ, I can't even think any of the names of them anymore. The Whiskey's down that way, whatever, you know.
Yeah, the Rainbow, the Whiskey, Go-Go, all that, those places.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, all those companies were on the other side of the street. You had fucking what do you call it there that signed Geffen Records. All of them were down around there, you know, and they would send people out to these clubs to watch the bands, and if somebody showed promise, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now they got rid of all that, so now now everybody's scrambling, trying to get back to that. There's a band around called Greta Van Fleet, and I like them all right. But, you know, and they're very Zeppelin-ish. You can tell those kids listen to a lot of that shit we grew up with, you know?
Right.
But there's one thing, man. I saw them a couple times across from the Ford Theater, across from the Hollywood Bowl, and they were great. But then all of a sudden their second album came out. The first album was an EP, so basically their first real record. And they started dropping all the great stuff from their EP that they had. They started to we're not going to play Edge of Darkness anymore. What are you, out of your fucking mind? Oh, because Jake, one of the brothers, wants to do these 20-minute guitar solos like Jimmy Page. Well, hold up, dude, because first off, you're not. Secondly, I'm a guitar player. I've seen it all a million times, dude. You're boring me.
Right. Very few people could fucking hold a 10-minute solo session like somebody like David Gilmour. Yeah. No,
I don't even want to see it anymore, dude. You know, I mean, that was what was epic about Led Zeppelin. When Jimmy Page did the original 20-minute guitar shit, he did it in the middle of fucking Dazed and Confused, and there were 100 different parts.
Right.
You know, it wasn't just one. I mean, because in '77, Page started doing those guitar solos. He'd do the Star Spangled Banner, and then this guitar solo thing. And it's like, dude, really? Why? You know, first off, you're all strung out on fucking heroin. You don't even know what you're doing, and I don't care what you're fucking doing. It sucks. Stop. Play a song.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing, man. You know, I think that even now it's the greatest, because you go on one of these sites and they're talking about Greta Van Fleet, and I'm going, dude, I don't need to hear this kid that wants to be Jimmy Page, because he's not, and it's boring. Oh, you're a hater. No, I'm not. I'm a musician.
I
do. You know, that's what I do. When I'm not swinging a hammer, that's what I like to do. It's, you know, and it is. There's not a lot of talent anymore. There really isn't. You know, I mean, you watch that talent show on the TV with the judges, you know, and that one guy, Simon, the asshole dude, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, America's Got Talent, yeah.
Right, and occasionally there's somebody on there that there's some kid or whatever that you've never seen before, never heard before, nothing, and they're belting out some song like they fucking wrote it.
Right.
And I mean, you can't help but it either chokes you up or something, or you get really excited. But to hear somebody that should be making records because they're that good, like Van Halen. When Van Halen first came around, they were doing shit that nobody else was doing.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I remember American Idol, the other show that Simon was a part of, and one of the last seasons I watched. They had two guys on there that were just phenomenal. One was Bo. It was the season that had Bo Bice. I don't know if you're familiar with him. You know, the country singer. He was one of the two that was really, really good, and he got runner up. But there was another guy. I think his name was like Dimitri or something like that. And this dude was nailing songs like fucking "Somebody to Love" by Queen. And I mean, he was. I'll say it straight out. He was putting fucking Freddie Mercury to shame. And I'm sitting there like, how did this fucking dude not win? You know, how did this guy not win? Like, of course, they went with the pop singer, you know, blah, blah, blah. But this dude showed how much range and talent he had as a singer, and you're just like, how the fuck are you not the winner?
I know, right? Oh, no, dude, you know, but I mean, it's really incredible, too, because, you know, there's so many people. I was watching something, and they were talking about, it was one of those shows, and they're talking about the top 25 or top 50 most talented women in music, you know?
Right.
And Janis Joplin I think she was like 25 or something, and it's like, and then they're talking about fucking, the black gal that killed herself in the bathtub there.
Oh, Aaliyah or something?
I forget. It was a long time ago. She was married to Bobby Brown or something.
Oh, Whitney Houston.
There you have it, right. And she opened the door. No. If Janis Joplin hadn't done what Janis Joplin did in 68, 69, none of these chicks would be anything.
Right. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong
Janis
at all.
Joplin's the one that knocked down the fucking doors and told them because she wanted that album, Cheap Thrills, to be called Sex, Drugs, and Cheap Thrills. And the record company said, nope, we can't do that. And she said, well, then it's going to be Cheap Thrills. And they said, nope. And then she said, okay, I'll walk with it and take it to somebody else, and I'll get it printed in 2 minutes. And they were like, okay, Cheap Thrills it is. You know, because they knew she was right. She's going to take that record. It was like when Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page did the Yardbirds thing. And they went and recorded Zeppelin 1 before they even started touring. They took it to Atlantic Records and got $200,000 for it, unheard. They didn't even play it. Jimmy Page said, I want $200,000 for this right now. And if you don't, I'll take it to Decca and they'll sign. And fucking that guy, Hardigan, said, okay, fine. And they gave him the money. The rest is history. But I mean, and that's what I mean. I mean, going back to Van Halen, you know, their first couple albums they did, they were fucking incredible.
Right.
You know, they're doing stuff that no one ever did before. But that being said, then, you know, they're doing, you know, the last couple albums with David Lee Roth. I loved all of that shit with David, you know.
Right.
If I want to listen to Sammy Hagar, I'll put a Montrose album on. I stopped listening to them with Sammy Hagar, you know.
See, a lot of people argue that Sammy was like the front man for Van Halen, especially with the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. Yeah, but I'm right there. I'm right there with you, man. It was you know, for me it was 1984 and you know, albums like that. It was fucking the David Lee era.
First and shit, dude. That shit was fucking rad. But that being said, after that, it doesn't really matter whether David's there or Sammy's there. Because Eddie was a one-trick pony. That's all he had was that technique, that hammer-on, pull-off technique shit.
The single-hand arpeggios, yeah.
Right, okay, and to me, you know who Michael Schenker is? Played
Sounds
for
familiar.
UFO a million years ago.
Yes, okay, yes.
His brother with the Scorpions and shit. Well, Michael Schenker is probably the fastest, most melodic guitar player I've ever fucking heard. And, you know, I mean, to this day, you put on that album by UFO with Out on the Street, listen to that one song, Out on the Street, and that's arguably the best guitar solo in rock fucking music, period. Better than Stairway to Heaven, all of that. That dude starts off with this real slow melodic, oh, you can do this at home. and then it builds to this crescendo, and he's fucking gone. Yeah, if you can keep up with me, beautiful. If you can't, suck my dick. He's gone. You know what I'm saying? And it's fast and melodic, and I mean, and he's just unfucking real. You know, he always was. And yet again, another egomaniac, but he was a hell of a guitar player.
He had a right to be an egomaniac, right?
Right, and you know, then you look at somebody like Ted Nugent. We all grew up with Ted Nugent.
Uncle Ted.
And the guy's a fucking idiot. You know, I mean, he did. He had a couple of early albums. Probably the best album that he ever did was that live one. Double Live Gonzo.
Right, okay. Yeah,
okay, that was probably the best album he ever did. Now, here's the thing about Ted. You know, he talks about the guns and killing everything and shit like that. That motherfucker went and shit in his diaper to get out of Vietnam, from what everybody tells me. You know, and it's like, really, but you can pack guns and go and kill fucking animals that can't defend themselves. Oh, you're a badass, Ted. Gotta go and give you that. Get the fuck out of here. You know? Oh, well, I kill it and I give it to these people. Fuck you. You know? I make enough money that if I want a steak, I can go to the store and get a bison steak or a fucking cow steak, whatever. I'm not going to... And especially now with Lyme disease, really? You're going to kill a deer and eat that shit? Are you out of your mind? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, like going back to guitarists, like I was telling you about my former guitarist at Dissolution Purity, to give you an idea of like his artistic range. Like, he was heavily influenced, I know you know these names, by Dave Mustaine of Megadeth and Joe Satriani. Like, you can't really go wrong with those names as mentor pieces.
Well, you know, they're both, you know, they're both good, great guitar players, just not my style.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, they're good at what they do, not my bag, but yeah, they are. Satriani, that being, no, I'm thinking Steve Vai. He was the one that played with Frank Zappa.
Right.
And you had to be incredible to play with Frank Zappa. Zappa was, you know, Frank Zappa was another one that was way ahead of his time. But, you know, there is, dude, and the thing about it is, here's the thing, though. For every one of those guitar players that we know, that's, you know, a gazillionaire, whatever, you know, there's somebody out there that's even better than they are.
Oh, yeah, that just wasn't discovered.
Right. Oh, yeah, dude. You know who Randy Hansen is? You ever hear him?
No, that name doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, well, Randy Hansen's out of Seattle, Washington, more or less, and he does Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
He's one of those guys that goes around and performs Jimi Hendrix shit. Now, here's the thing. That guy ain't nothing to look at, but he plays shit. Sometimes you listen to him and you would swear you're listening to Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, nice.
Now, here's the thing about this guy. He even does shit that Jimi Hendrix himself would not try to play live because it's too hard.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Jimmy, I mean, I'm not going to knock Jimmy for people because I know he's considered one of the greatest rock guitarists. One of, not the, but one of. But I think Jimmy wasn't so much technical as he was soul. There was just something about what he played. It wasn't the technicality. It was just the emotion that it gave. You know what I mean? No. Hendrix was way ahead of everybody else, I think. Oh, notwithstanding, yeah.
Right, but I think that if he hadn't have died in September of 70, if he hadn't have died, he would still be. He would have maybe toured once, twice, two more times, and I'm telling you, but after that, he would have been in the recording studio. Period. And you would hear him his new shit on the radio, but he was the dude that was basically the guy to hold responsible for us having fucking the foot pedals for your guitar.
Right.
He was the dude that had that shit invented so he could use it shit live, get those sounds. He was a fucking maniac. That dude was. I think he was way more technical than people give him credit for. That being said, yeah, he was very soulful to be sure, but that was just the way he was.
Right.
You know, I mean, that dude was. You got to go and listen to a song off of the Cry of Love album. You got to go and listen to Peace in Mississippi.
All right.
Now, Peace in Mississippi. You listen to that fucking guitar, the guitar that he's using like 3 different overdubs on this thing. Okay.
Right.
But the one main guitar that he's just ripping, dude. I'm still trying to get that sound. And I've playing since I was 12. I'm now 57. That dude was fucking so far ahead of everybody else. It's sick. You know, and the guy was out of fucking control.
Right.
You know, I mean, imagine him. You've seen the footage of him playing that acoustic 12-string guitar.
Right.
Imagine if he'd have gotten his hands on one of those fucking things Jimmy Page used to wield around, the double neck.
Oh yeah, the double neck, the 12 and 6. Yeah.
I mean, I can play one. I love it. I think it's out of this world. But I'm no fucking Jimmy Page, and I'm no motherfucking Hendrix. But to me, there was just something about those 12 strings. It was actually easier for me to play.
That's funny. I was always a rhythm guitarist when I would play. So I was never very technical. I never tried to take the lead part, but the 12-string always scared me. I don't know why, but it did. I think it was just the 6 extra strings.
The sound's incredible, man.
Oh.
I picked up an old Cort 12-6 Cort double neck, and it's a tank, dude. It's a fucking tank. But the sound is like, you know, all of a sudden you're writing them. You pick it up and you start fucking around, and you're all of a sudden you're just writing songs to be able to play with that 12-string, you know what I mean? It's so inspirational. If you're a guitar player and you know what the fuck you're doing, it's actually really inspirational because you're challenging yourself.
I'm a guitar player, but I wouldn't necessarily say I know what I'm doing. I know
I'm
enough to write a
dude.
song.
No, I'm the same way. You tell me, oh, play this scale. Yeah, okay, whatever. I can play, but it's crazy because people go, dude, you're incredible. What are you doing here building? You should be out playing. No, I'm good at what I do. I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing. I just like what I'm hearing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how I look at it. Everything. I mean, I'm the same way with carpentry. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but it looks good.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know if it's in code, but it looks nice.
Dude, you know, and that's what's really funny. You were talking to me about when I moved out here in 1993. No, 1990. It was right after Stevie Ray died.
Right.
I moved out here, and one of the guys I was working with said, dude, you're going to fucking hate it because the building codes and shit in California are way harder than they are here. So I come out here, and I'm working on the outside. There's no plywood on anything. Okay? It's just 2x4s, and then they put chicken lath over it, and then they plaster it. Done.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No insulation, and you wonder why shit falls down when there's an earthquake. You know, dude, it's and then okay, the way we put our door assemblies. You know, you got the king, the stud and the jack.
Right.
The king stud jack assembly, and then the header sits on the jacks, and
right.
You got to double side it. You got to nail it from both sides so it don't come apart.
Right.
Out here, oh no, dude. Their header does not sit down on the jacks. It's usually about an inch and a half off of the jacks. I
Why?
don't know. And then the jacks, they call them trimmers. In the fucking 3 nails. 3 nails. That's it. So that if you need to shim it, you can just reach in there with a flat bar and kind of adjust that trimmer.
Oh, God.
Where we had everything nailed solid, and then when you put your jam in, you shimmed it.
Right.
you didn't fucking pull the trimmer apart, the jack apart from the king stud. You know, what, are you out of your mind? And it's crazy out here, dude. And then after the 94 earthquake, which I was in, and I'll tell you what, I'll take hurricanes all day.
Yeah.
I will take hurricanes all day, blizzards, all of that shit. Earthquakes are fucking scary because they can't predict them. Like they can tell you, oh, this weekend, we got a hurricane coming in, going to be here for 3-4 days. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't know, and then all of a sudden, boom, it hits. And the freeways come down, and oh, dude, it's fucking nuts. Sounds crazy. Like a freight train. It does.
Crazy.
Seriously, it sounds like a freight train coming. And then everything just starts shaking. It's really unnerving. And, I don't consider myself a wuss, but in those conditions, sign me up.
Well, I was about to say, I don't know if it's necessarily being a wuss, being in an earthquake like California 94. I don't think anybody would think any less of anybody for soiling their underwear in that condition. Like, let's be fair.
It was fucking crazy, man. I was lucky. I was home. It was Martin Luther King Day, and I was home. I'd just gotten laid off of a show, so I was taking a couple days off. I mean, that's the beauty of working in this industry, is that you make so much money that you can go, you know what, I worked for 4 months, I made this, I'm going to take a month off.
Right.
And do absolutely whatever the fuck I please, maybe collect a little unemployment, you know what I'm saying, whatever.
Right.
So I was lucky. I was in bed sleeping next to my old lady at the time, and I heard that fucking sound, and you've been through one before, you know what that sound is. I grabbed her, threw her on the floor. She said, what the fuck are you doing? As I'm getting on top of her to protect her if anything falls. Next time I know better. Next time I'll fall on the floor and use her as a shield. You know what I'm saying?
And they say chivalry is dead.
Oh, dude, well, it's a trip because, okay, just recently we had a stringer little earthquakes not far from here. I never felt any of them, but we had a bunch of them. So there's an app you can get now for earthquakes.
Right.
An alarm, right? It doesn't fucking work. It doesn't. You listen to these fucking politicians talk smack about fucking Mexico. Now, I've been to Mexico a gazillion times. I love it down there. The people are the greatest. If you don't know them, you have to go and hang out with them, eat, party with them. You will love them. They are the coolest people ever.
Right.
Okay, you go down there. We're down in Oaxaca, which is way the fuck down. You don't want to go to the border towns. You want to go down there. If you're going to go to Mexico, go down into Mexico with the people, the food. It's unbelievable. Not the Tex-Mex shit'll cross the border. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we're down there. So we're hanging out with Susie's nephew lives down in Oaxaca. And I hear this air raid siren. I'm like, hey, Alan, what the fuck is that? He says, oh, we're going to have an earthquake. A minute later, everything starts shaking. They've had a fucking earthquake alarm system down there for years. And we've been having earthquakes here since the dawn of time, and you haven't put in an alarm system yet?
Right.
It's like, really? I mean, and you're making fun of a third world country that has it? Maybe so you should be sending folks down there. You know what I mean? It's like, dude. But it is a fucking hoot down there, man. It is. It's really, if you haven't been, you need to go. You can go, like, fly out to fucking San Diego, whatever, take the train, whatever's cheap, get out to San Diego, and then cross the border at fucking San Diego TJ, right there. There's an airport right there. You cross over, you give them your passport, boom. You get on a plane, from TJ, you can fly anywhere in South America for $199 per person round trip.
Nice.
Well, it's it's a cattle car. You're not getting nothing fancy, but you're going to get to where you want to go.
Right.
I've been to Guatemala, seen Tikal, all that shit, Antigua, fucking Mexico, dude. And the people are the greatest, and it's so much, they want your money. They're like anybody else. They want your money. They're trying to make a living just like we are.
Right.
So you go down there and you see something cool and you're like, how much? And they're like, oh, well, da-da-ba-da-da-ba. And you're going, okay, I don't speak any of that shit. So it's actually, but and my old lady does. So, you know, they start talking and shit like that. And Susie.
Hello? Oh. Bear with me, guys. Hey guys, it's Chris Stolle at Breaking the Fourth Wall again. Unfortunately, my system had lost the call with Mr. Dave Hamblin. We will have him back on. I just wanted to get on here real quick and give you guys a quick outro. I want to thank my guest very much. I had a blast. We went way over time, but that's quite all right with me because I was enjoying the conversation. I hope you guys were too. Make sure you check out this podcast and all the great podcasts of Realm of Mist Entertainment on our YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe you agree or don't agree with some of the topics discussed. Of course, check out all the other great shows on Realm of the Mist. And go check out our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, for all your tabletop Dungeons & Dragons style gaming, as well as video game Let's Plays and playthroughs. And, of course, if you're one of those people that just prefers the audio formats, just look up Realm of the Mist Entertainment on Anchor.fm, iTunes, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Dave Hamblin. We will have him back on. I think we're going to have a series with him. And, of course, guys, I will catch you on the next Breaking the Fourth Wall. Have a good night. From celebrity interviews to Star Wars, to things that shouldn't be said but had to be said, to conspiracy theories, or maybe just a night of playing Dungeons & Dragons. Whatever the podcast you're looking for could be found here at Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Make sure you check out all of our shows because there's something for everybody there.